Welcome to the Center for Diversity Leadership, where we are supporting school leaders together across the nation as they create school cultures that ensure all students are seen, valued, celebrated, and heard. I'm Xavier Reed,
And I'm Dr. Ryan Daniel.
and we are your fellows in this work. So today we are going to be talking about and focusing on how school leaders can build connections with their entire school community. Building community and school engagement is essential for creating a positive and collaborative educational environment. Culture responsive family, school, and community engagement is an approach that recognizes and values the diverse cultural backgrounds and perspectives of students, families, and communities. It seeks to foster meaningful and inclusive partnerships among these stakeholders in the educational process. This engagement is essential for holistic development, success, and well-being of students. I would say for me as a leader, personally, this is where my focus and my love really is being able to connect, build that connection home, and build that connection throughout the whole community. Community in itself, that word for me means a whole lot. That's something that I talk about on a daily basis here in our building is community. How can we build community? Where is our community at right now? Does it reflect what we want to see happen in our community? It's all connected. And I know that, for me now, I even see this conversation a little bit different now as a parent with kids in the K-12 system. I want, for my own children's experience, I want to be connected to their school as well. And so I look at it from that lens. Additionally. So, Ryan, how do you see community? How do you see this topic from your perspective?
So what's very unique about me is not only am I the principal of my school, but I'm also a parent. So I have both of my daughters. They attend my school, and I will say that has been a game changer to my leadership skills and even just outlook because I constantly put myself in the parent role. And I know that there are school leaders that are not parents, and I'm not alluding to the fact that you're a better leader because you're a parent, but it gives you just a different lens and a perspective. And for me, I make sure that at our school that parents are not spectators, that they are not just watching what their child is doing, but they're really experiencing it with them. They're having those lived experiences. And I use a quote all the time with my staff and my community is that everyone that is affected by the work must affect the work. And so, I have really in my this is year 8 now for me as a school leader, and this is my second school. It has been really important for me to shift from parents being involved to being engaged. Like I really want them to not just show up, but like really be a part of whatever the experience is. So, one example, and that has been a real game changer, is how we start the school year. I open house is so boring. I'm sorry, I don't care what grade you are in. And I'm elementary. No pre-K student wants to sit and listen to a presentation but from their new teacher. That is not engaging for them. So I
Mhm.
shifted the way that we do open house for the beginning of the school year, and we do a popsicle play date. And we go out on the playground. Our pre-K kindergarten students and families, they meet at the playground. The teachers are there. They have a packet that they give to the parents, but it's really about creating this first learning experience for our youngest students and giving them an opportunity to start the school year by building relationships in a safe place, the playground, at the park, with the parents. And that has been welcomed a lot. And then we do not do a school-wide open house. We have a back to school block party. And that is when students get to find out whose class they're in. They meet their teachers. We give out giveaways and book bags and school supplies. And it's just a party because I think that for us, that really builds community. It sets the tone of what this school year is going to be. It takes the formality of open house, the nervousness parents and students have of starting a new school year. And it allows us to start kind of coming together as a family. And those small moments just become big moments later on. And for me as a school leader, when I do my like goals each month, I always put one community event as a goal. And I really charge myself to find some way for us to engage the community or families that month. And I try to tell her around the holidays or depending on what's going on. But I don't know, what is, when you think about like all of the events that you've done in your leadership, what's like one of your most memorable community or family like engagement activity you've done?
Yeah. I mean, before I get to that though, I feel like not even my kids, I want to come to your school and I want to be at the popsicle on the playground, eating the popsicles, getting to know my teachers. Like that sounds amazing. But yeah, we've done a lot of different events. I think with the school calendar, you can kind of get locked into just like you said, open house can be very much, a boring event. And I think, when I think about some of the things you were just saying, like first impressions, like that's our opportunity to have a first impression with our incoming sixth graders. We have new students who are seventh and eighth graders. And so, or even just, after having a summer break and not seeing kids for a little bit, it's our first time that we get to see them for who they are this school year. And so just being able to capitalize on that is important. And I really liked what you said about that. One of the school events that really will always be special to me and always like be memorable is we had something called an ISI. This was a school event. It's called an ISI. It stands for intentional social interaction. And so there is a group out here in Minnesota called Marnita's Table that helps to train organizations and schools and communities and churches and a lot of different areas of how to have these events. And really, it's about everything about the event is very intentional, from who you invite to the food that you have at the event. Food is very much an important piece of it. When you think about, for many families, the best conversations usually happen around the dinner table, or around some type of food. In many diverse communities, food is a big deal. Thanksgiving dinner is a big deal. Sunday dinner is a big deal. If you're getting together over the holidays, Easter, those are all like big events that happen. And so Marnita was able to capture that energy and put it into event planning. And so when we talk about like people feeling connected, belonging, inclusion, sometimes when you go to different events, depending on what your diet is, if you are gluten free and they don't have any gluten free items, you don't feel connected or like you belong in the space. If you are someone who is vegetarian and they're having steak, like that's not going to work for you. And so that's why food was so much important. And then like who you're inviting. We know what students and what families we need to connect with. We know where our performances are academically, but what are we doing about that? We can't just send an invite out and just think that people are just going to show up. So we were very intentional about it. This is a part of the process, was sending out a paper invite, sending out emails, sending out text messages. And then the most important thing was picking up the phone and making personal phone calls to, 200 to 300 people, and just doing that together as an office. And when we did this event, we centered it around the school itself and having everybody that's a part of that community see themselves as being a part of the school community. And the people who we invited was students, um, parents and guardians. We invited business owners who may not have any students in our building, but we know that the bike shop down the street is where, kids get their bikes fixed at. We know that the restaurant around the corner is where kids hang out. The movie theater, we invited everybody. We invited the car wash, the owners of the car wash. We invited everybody in because we want them to see themselves as, you're helping raise our kids. It's kind of that whole theme of, being raised in, a village. It takes a village to to raise a child. And so we wanted everyone to see themselves as that. And then I think the special part for me was that this is a student-led event. So we have our students, our student leaders who were greeters for all the families and everybody that was walking in. They walked everybody from the door to their seat. You were encouraged to sit by somebody you didn't know, and the goal was for you to meet 2 to 3 people that you had not met before, and exchange information so that you could do some community work in the future, whether that was volunteering at the school, doing something some other way. And it was just a very, very positive, very positive, experience. And many of the students, are now grown and they're in college and, have started their own families. And so it's just something I look back on. And I think, we definitely, every day doesn't always feel like you move the dial, but that day we definitely did, for sure.
I love that you said that, because oftentimes as school leaders we get into that place of like, what went well today, like are we making strides, are we doing the things? And I've stated it before, but I think as school leaders, because systemically and nationwide, there's such a focus on like they should be learning, like who cares if they can like work together, like you need to be teaching, you need to be like teaching and learning is the priority, and it is the priority. But I think we often forget how much or how big the role parents in the community plays into student achievement. And I'm really fortunate that we have, as NAESP, we have a partnership with MAEC, which is the Center for Education Equity. And one of the resources that they've provided was this dual capacity building framework for school leaders and educators around how do we build this the family school partnership. And it really highlights and connects research to theory, research to practice, and getting them to understand, or school leaders to understand, that this framework is around relationships first. Like relationships help build trust. And then once trust is built, then we're able to really attack some of those other needs of our students. So I love how the dual capacity building framework, it uses two things. It's this process conditions and connects them to the essential conditions. So for the process conditions, thinking about mutual trust, learning development, and a focus on assets and not deficits, and really looking at some of those culturally responsive practices. So a lot of what you shared about, your event, really being able to bring everyone to the table, creating that mutual trust. I think about, I've now had the opportunity to serve at 2 different schools, and it was really important for me to come in to my current school and understand, like having to build trust with everyone, getting my staff to understand that I am supportive of their values and supportive of their voice, and areas that they may not have felt supporting them before with the previous leadership, that how I'm going to change it as like the current leadership. But then also connecting the process conditions to the essential conditions of families, and making sure that families and educators, that we build capacity for one another around our capabilities, our connections, our confidence is really big, right? I think about our parents, and I serve, there's this new thing, busy parenting, right? I have a lot of busy parents, and it's not that they don't want to be active. They are busy. Like they are single family households, they single income households, excuse me. They're working at nighttime. So they're doing the best that they can. We have grandparents raising children. So this busy parenting, we've as a community have tried to see how we can support our families that are in this stage of busy parenting and may not have the time to do the homework or have the time to learn how to do it. So like, what supports can we provide them? So we've utilized different opportunities in the morning time, the coffee with the principal. There was one coffee with the principal that all we did was made flashcards of sight words, addition facts, multiplication facts, and things that they can do at home. We get, utilizing thankfully we have virtual platforms now where parents have an opportunity to be like a part of it. But really kind of providing parents with supports and building their own self-efficacy, because a lot of times, and I've learned, especially with a predominantly African American population, but a very growing Hispanic population of parents, and the self-efficacy, especially for those parents that are not bilingual, English is not their first language, their confidence in being able to support their students is very low. And so how do we as a school community, as a school leader, really support parents around that? So, one resource, and we're hoping our listeners utilize some of these resources, but save and pin the dual capacity building framework, because it really connects and emphasizes the importance of not seeing families, as spectators, but really vital parts of the school and ultimately their child's education.
Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate you sharing that with our listeners. That's really, it's something that really sticks to me. The busy parenting. I'm a busy parent right now. Is the way that you described that. I'm definitely I fit into the busy parent for sure. I also, it made me reflect on something I think is important for us as leaders to never go into is thinking that because a parent's not showing up for conferences or for a scheduled meeting, or they haven't picked up the phone, to not assume it's because they don't want to. There's a lot of there's a lot of factors that go into being a parent, and there's a lot of factors that goes into just being an adult and a human. And it's important that we as leaders build that empathy for our families, even though sometimes, it can be stressful, it can be frustrating, it can be, but we don't know what's going on. And so, and I also don't know all the times if at schools we are doing the best that we can do at communicating when something is going on, because I know something that we're focusing on right now in our school district is how can we translate documents and information to all of the languages that our students represent in our building, and trying to be better in that way. And so I think it's an important piece to know it's on us to adjust to the students and families that we have. It's not on our students and families to adjust to how we do things.
Oh, I like that. That's like a mic drop moment. And, like making sure, I think oftentimes, as we wrap up, I think one change that I've made, and I hope this is support to our listeners, when I think of like community engagement and parents, and how do we get them to feel connected in the school, I changed the way that we do our special education meetings, like our IEP meetings and annual reviews. I changed that. And this has been a game changer. So we don't come with our laptops. You can't come with your laptop to the meeting, right? Because the parent is there, and the parent doesn't have a laptop. Everybody else around them have laptops. And that's intimidating to a parent who is already coming in on the defense because we're telling them what their child cannot do or where their child is having challenges. And so that is one change we made. Everybody, you got to come with a notebook, and we have a notebook provided for the parent too, so that if they want to take any notes, if there's something that they need to remember, that they have that as well. The same thing when it's virtual. We don't share the screen. Like, we don't share the screen. We try to make it as it's a conversation, because we get to scrolling really fast, and we're highlighting and we're typing in things. And if I'm a parent, and I'm virtual, you've lost me. And so, and the last thing is we start the meeting off with the things that we have seen as glows, the things that we love about the student, some growth that we've seen, we start with celebrations and we ask the
Mm.
parents to celebrate too. Like we know we're going to talk about the concerns. We're going to talk about some of the areas of challenges, but let's celebrate some of the growth the child has first. And that has really been a game changer of how our meetings go. And I think that parents really feel like they're a part of the conversation at the table. So as we wrap up, Xavier, like what's like your tidbit, your last thing you would like give to our listeners when it comes to, building that relationship with parents in the school community?
I would say, you know, make an effort to provide space, listen. I sometimes I feel like, when we're talking at families, it can be overwhelming. And so they have a lot to share with us. They know their child best. It's their child. And so we gotta use our ears. What about you, Ryan?
I think I would say the same. Like I love that piece that you shared of they know their child best. But I think also just being very intentional, knowing your community outside of the walls of your school, knowing what's happening, but get out into the community as well. Like let your family see you in different places. Show up to the games, show up to the events at the local church, the local community center, because there is a sense of a buy-in, right? When they see you outside of the community, and I think they believe in your leadership, mission and vision a little bit more when they see you step outside of the school walls.
Mhm. Well, thank you for joining us for another podcast today. We appreciate you as listeners, and we hope to connect with you soon. And I hope that all is well. We'll see you when we see you next.